Let's move on to the next head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, though, Ethan, Mitch Johnson. The last time that we talked about this, I was like, hey, I think we can go get a big fish. I don't think we should just settle on Mitch Johnson. But apparently, not even apparently, I don't know what to say. I'm just completely flipping because it's clear to me that the Spurs organization is fully invested in Mitch Johnson. And here's some quotes I have written down. Brian Wright said, "It was an easy decision." And so that was something that stood out to me, with all of the potential candidates that could be had, but also not just a Pop approved decision, not just an RC approved decision, not just a Brian Wright approved decision, but this is a Victor Wembanyama approved decision as well. So that gives me all the confidence in the world. I know that in comparison to some of the criticisms that we might have had, at the latter half of the season and everything like that, and also, like I said, just feeling like because of the position the Spurs were in and how attractive they were, that it seemed like we could go out and get somebody else. But this is also probably the most Spurs thing ever, in the sense that we're just elevating somebody who really probably this is probably in the work for like 3 years. They've probably known this for like a couple years at this point. Mitch is actually who's going to replace him. It's not Will Hardy. It's not all these other guys. And notice too that Brian Wright mentioned that him and Mitch Johnson came in the same summer. But again, I could go on and on about that. What are your thoughts on Mitch Johnson being named the head coach and how the Spurs came to the decision?
I agree with what you said. This was probably the plan the entire time. Pop just getting sick was an unexpected wrinkle in the timeline of the plan. Pop was probably going to stick around for this past season and then this upcoming year as well, and then just kind of hand the reins to Mitch Johnson, and then we all would have been completely fine. But Pop getting sick, and then the unexpected circumstances where Mitch had to take over, and then there was the ups and the downs this season and injuries, and so I was right there with you. I wanted to go get a big name, a big fish. But who are we to disagree?
Yeah.
With the front office, right? And Mitch Johnson is a guy that's kind of gone through the ranks at every level as a really good college player. I think he tried to make the league, obviously didn't make the league, and then worked his way up through the coaching rankings and went through the G League and all of that. So he's been through pretty much every possible circumstance other than just like being an official NBA head coach. So now, it's finally his team. He has a full offseason under his belt. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for sure, and be on his side for the, foreseeable future. I will say, I think Mitch Johnson's leash is probably shorter than expected. I think he probably has 2 years to get into the second round, or at least compete at that second round spot in the playoffs, or the Spurs start looking elsewhere, especially if one of these big trades that's being rumored actually goes through.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I will say that nobody is going to have as long of a leash as Pop. That is 1,000% a fact. And when you throw on Victor Wembanyama being in there, I completely agree with your sentiment. I'll get into some of the things, when it comes to the criticisms this year, even in the conversation where we talked about how, maybe we should go for a big fish, or you and I were just saying we would want to go for a big fish. Mm-hmm. We were also saying that like all of the criticisms of Mitch Johnson, we just kind of viewed him as an interim. So we weren't really like diving that deep or like taking it that seriously. And so, of course, now with him being the head coach, a lot of people are going to be like, look at all of these things that he did bad. Oh my God, I hate these rotations. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to just make excuses for everything and brush everything away, but like the context does matter, man. Not just the situation he was thrust into, but then also the end of the season whenever it comes to Victor and De'Aaron. And here's the thing that I'll say, man. If we're going to talk about the negatives, let's talk about Stephon Castle's development at the end of the season. Like, is he just not... Does Mitch Johnson just get no credit for that whatsoever? And I'm not saying it's all him, but like, do we just take away the credit for him playing him, 35 minutes a game at the end of the year, which we kind of consistently did? Like we got to give him some, if we're going to criticize some things, we also got to look at the positives. And I'm sure people are going to, point at the wins and losses, but that just points me to a press conference or a moment in this press conference where a reporter asks, he asked Mitch Johnson, I don't remember the exact question, but it was basically, in this disappointing season, or let me see exactly what I texted you. I might be getting the wording wrong there. Yeah, no, in this difficult season. He said, in this difficult season, what were some things that you learned, blah, blah, blah. But that was how he framed it. And Mitch responded. He said, in this air quotes difficult season, and then went on to respond. But basically what he's saying there is he's like, I'm not viewing it that way. That's just what you said. And I think that ties into the Spurs, man. I don't think that the Spurs aren't viewing this, that the way that the internet masses are. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they brought in De'Aaron Fox. They needed to get Victor healthy. Jeremy was even sat for the past 15 or the last 10 or so games of the year. I think team looks very different when it's healthy. And I know that's an obvious thing to say when you don't have De'Aaron Fox and Victor. And I know people might be like, well, if he comes and runs these same rotations and we have the same roster, and like we saw in the 3 games that we saw this year, those same problems are going to come up and we're going to be a play-in team. I just disagree at that point. I will say I'm going to be looking at Mitch Johnson a completely different way next season, but I'm not trying to say that we should completely dismiss everything that we saw from Mitch Johnson this season, but I just think that the context is so key. And I think that rang true in the press conference.
Yeah, context is huge. And I also think, let's think back to when he very first started for Pop. He went on a little bit of a stretch there where we actually had conversations like, should we even want Pop back?
Right.
Because he was doing so well as the coach, or the team was performing well with him at the helm. And then obviously there were injuries and all the things that you already alluded to. So I'm willing, let's give him a full offseason to figure it out himself. And let's be honest, there were probably some tank-ish methods going on in the background as well with this season, the way just things panned out for us. It was like, why fight for the 9th seed when we could just lose a couple more games and get a higher pick? So
yeah, and have a chance to jump into the top 4.
Yeah, exactly
in a draft like this as well.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Admit to trust.
Yes, sir. Yes, me too. Even though the last episode I said we're going for a big fish, if Pop came out there and said this is the next guy to lead, ignore my opinion. Go with the GOAT.
Right. Agreed.
All right. Last quote. This is from Mitch Johnson in the press conference. It's a new chapter because it looks different, but the theme of the book is the same.
I'm going to bring out, because it's May 5th technically, we missed May the 4th, but I'm going to bring out a Star Wars quote that George Lucas said, Jude, about writing 1, 2, and 3 after 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, wait, no, never mind. 4, 5, and 6 are the best, in my opinion.
It's okay. It's all right. He said, like great poetry, they rhyme. It's a different era, but these stories are going to be the same. The arc is the same.
And let me say, 1, 2, and 3, dog walk 7 through 9. So.
Oh, absolutely. 7 through 9 were not written by George Lucas.
Yes. Thank you. Side note.
This is turning into the Star Wars podcast.
We haven't even talked about Star Wars really, but I love how we're just on the same page on that. Good to know.